Okay, welcome back everybody, or welcome if you're new here. I'm starting to speak about my understanding of astrological signs, the archetypes in the zodiac. And I spontaneously felt really inspired to start with Gemini today. And it's interesting, I was kind of wondering or asking myself, why Gemini? Because I thought, I just start with Aries, where it all begins. But I felt really inspired to talk about Gemini. One of the reasons is because I was just reading about this archetype. I'm pretty obsessed. I still read different materials and study astrology just on a daily basis, pretty much. And then the interesting thing was I looked into the current planetary constellations last night, and it so happened that Uranus actually just moved into Gemini. And this is a pretty big move because Uranus is one of the very slower moving planets, has an 84-year orbit around the sun. So it stays in each sign approximately 7 to 8 years. And so, Uranus has been in Taurus for many years. I think since 2016. I was not studying astrology at the time, but it's been in Taurus for a while, and it just moved into Gemini. And it will be there until November. Then it will move back into Taurus for a few months, like 5 months approximately. And as far as I remember, in April 2026, it will move all the way into Gemini and stay there till 2033. So that being said, I felt inspired for some reason to start with Gemini, maybe because I read about it, and maybe because there's a stronger Gemini energy now with Uranus moving in. There's some activation happening, some initiation into Uranus and Gemini period. And it's interesting, most people of us don't experience this twice in our lifetime. So I might be getting a bit ahead of myself. So I'm already in a Gemini state of mind right now, and needing to slow myself down. Here's what I want to say about Gemini is that I have the impression from the conversations I had so far with people is that it's one of the most misunderstood signs in the zodiac. Often I hear people say that Gemini is very fast in their mind, and they're just jumpy, and they don't really they cannot sit still, they're restless, and they cannot stop talking, and they're social butterflies, or they are very social and chatty. And this is a very incomplete perspective on Gemini. So while it's not wrong, it's incomplete. What I've come to learn and also see is that what I just described, this jumpiness and this overly chattiness, it can actually be more of a shadow expression of Gemini. Because yes, Gemini does have a very intense mind, and they are prone to be very highly intelligent on the intellectual level, and they use their intellect more than, for example, a person that has more Pisces in their chart. But what the evolutionary journey for Gemini is that it can be in the beginning of life, that they are, very kind of floaty and moving around a lot and exploring a lot. And then gradually, if they take the evolutionary higher road, let's put it that way, they learn, for one, to accept or to see really that every human being has their own experience and perspective. A Gemini also practices to listen, or learns to listen. Because what can also come with this more jumpiness and more looking chattiness, and to come back to the beginning of Gemini's evolutionary journey, it's really a sign that's collecting data or information about life, about existence, about the world, in order to create an understanding. Gemini wants to understand itself through intellectually creating a factual framework of the world. So it's very collecting a lot of information. And with this collection of information, obviously a pitfall that can come with that is that a person becomes like very set in their beliefs. They say like, yeah, I read about this, and I like saw this kind of experience, and this is what science says about X, Y, and Z, and this is why it's true. So they can become very like narrow-minded and opinionated in their shadow expression. So a holistic evolution for Gemini is to really open themselves up. And I'm like feeling my heart, and I honestly think this is essentially what all signs eventually lead to in the highest evolutionary expression. It's coming from the heart, in fact. So can Gemini go the path of becoming more open and learning that every human being has their own experience? And a Gemini in a more evolved state is actually can become a very good listener, can become very good at seeing different perspectives at the same time. We also look at the polarity sign of each sign in order to get more insight about the evolutionary journey and about the like also an antidote to the shadow expression. So the polarity, the opposing sign of Gemini is Sagittarius. And Sagittarius represents the intuitive mind, the higher mind, so to say, the non-linear mind. While Gemini is like the intellectual mind and the more rational mind, Sagittarius is the higher mind, the intuitive, the non-linear mind. And to become more of a whole, integrated, we are already whole, but to realize this wholeness more and to become more of an integrated human being, it's very useful to draw upon the opposing sign as well. So can a Gemini practice and embody more of those Sagittarian qualities by opening up, by releasing the tension around set structures of belief that have been created based on the evidence or the information that has been gathered? Can a Gemini release that fixation on mere intellectualism actually? Can they open their mind and be also surprised, and open also the intuitional channels, so to say? So the evolutionary intention of a soul that has some Gemini signatures in their chart, obviously also it always depends which house, which planet is affected, how strong is Gemini in the chart. But I'm just speaking about this archetype now. So the evolutionary intention for a soul that has some Gemini signatures, it wants to experience openness and yes, intellectual grasping of existence, but in a like in a more relaxed and released way. I have like this image of like many open channels around the mind, and at the same time a deep centeredness and groundedness. So Gemini also is a teacher, and obviously a teacher needs to be a student first and foremost. So this is what I was mentioning earlier. In the beginning, a Gemini might be very busy with gathering information, or they might do this all the time. Like I'm thinking of some people I know, there's like a hunger for learning and for information and for expanding the mental faculty. And so that can on one hand obviously lead to the scatteredness of like dipping our toes in many different pools, or there's like the saying, drilling many holes without drawing water anywhere. So this is also one evolutionary learning journey or step for Gemini, to eventually focus their intellectual intensity onto a certain topic, maybe two, but not to spread oneself too thin and knowing a little bit of everything. But eventually they want to go deep into one thing and learn about that, and realize by doing that everything is interconnected anyway. But this is also an important aspect for Gemini, to channel this intense intelligence that they have intellectually into one thing. And obviously, once at some point when we know a lot about something, or when we come to a point of knowing something to a degree where we feel like we're overflowing and we want to share it now, then Gemini can also become a teacher or a poet, actually. You know, if it's like Venus in Gemini, it might be more of an artistic expression in form of poetry. But definitely there's likely going to be this overflow and this desire to share it in some kind of way. And to distribute the information that has been gathered. Yeah, so I feel like for now I've come to the end of this presentation, and it was interesting for me. I noticed I was quite in this Gemini state of mind. I was jumping around a bit, and it was not like as super fluid as I would have liked it to be. So maybe you also got a little bit more of an impression of this Gemini energy by listening to this. And yeah, I wish you a beautiful day. And you can also book a reading with me. I just linked the link for further information in the description below. If there are questions, also you can ask them. You're welcome to do so. And yes, I wish you a good day once again. See you again soon.